good to have you back in the mix. As always, it's a time where we, the Pacifica Network, and we're gathered here on this cool morning, not as cold as we thought it was going to be, to, again, gathering here to commemorate on Thanksgiving, or the mourning of indigenous peoples, and celebration of survival. Mary Jean, it's good to have you back in the mix. As always, it's a time where we gather here for ceremony and prayer and look at the future. A lot of people here this morning. Someone said that there's up to maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people turning out.
Yeah, it's an honor. It's always an honor to be here on the island. And it's a very special blessing to be hearing a native California woman bless the opening of the ceremony. Anne Marie Sayers and her daughter, Canyon Sayers from Indian Canyon up near Hollister, are opening the ceremony because this is their land that we are standing on, and this is a way to honor the original people whose land we live on now. So I wanted to welcome everybody to, once again, Radio Free Alcatraz, in order to honor all of those people who 40 years ago occupied this island and transformed the governmental policies that were terminating Indian tribes and changed it to a form of self-determination, to quote Richard Nixon. He says, we are going to change termination into self-determination, way back then. And I also wanted to honor the first radio personality here on the island, John Trudeau, yes, who did Radio Free Alcatraz during the occupation. And the other person that I wanted to welcome here this morning was Wounded Knee Diocampo, who is here with us and is just coming off of the Shell Mound Peace Walk. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if you can hold the mic up to your mouth real close, and we'll get close and talk a little bit with you. Can you talk about the Shell Mound Peace Walk and what that was about?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank the Creator and all the people that gather here on Alcatraz. I want to thank KPFA for allowing me to speak about the Shell Mound. It was a spiritual journey that we started in San Jose. We walked through many, many cities. And I came to a site that they were desecrating, and they're going to build this Kaiser Hospital on it, on top of our ancestors. It was a very sad moment for me to see this happening to our ancestors. There was another place in Coyote Valley, Coyote Hills, where they want to build homes on top of this sacred site. So the Shell Mound Walkers was led by Corina Go and Janela Sanchez, and we walked through many, 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 many sacred places. We're asking people to support us to protect these sacred sites. These sacred sites was a place where our ancestors laid today, and we need the people to support us behind protecting these sacred sites. There's one site in Vallejo, California, that we've been protecting for 12 years. We're battling in the city of Vallejo and GVRD. GVRD stands for Greater Vallejo Recreation. They want to build a park on top of this sacred site. It's a home and a sacred village of many, many Californian Native American tribes. They came there to do their ceremonies, to do their vision quests, and trade, and also bury their ancestors there. So I want to thank KPFA, but if you could support us in any kind of way, we're looking for an attorney to help us to fight this battle, to keep this sacred site intact, because they want to destroy it. There are 13,000 human remains at UC Berkeley and at San Francisco State, and we're trying to get them back to be reinterred back into Mother Earth. There's no such thing as a prayer for them once they take them out of Mother Earth. They need to go back into Mother Earth. That's our culture. That's our belief. And we ask people to come out and support us, Miguel and Mary Jean. We ask them to come and support us to protect these sacred sites.
Thank you so much, Wounded Knee, for that information, and we'll be, talking to you again, and we'll be having you back on the air till the battle is won. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank KPFA. And I want to thank the American Indian Movement, and I also want to thank Tony Gonzalez, who's sitting to the right of me, for allowing me to speak yesterday at the American Indian Movement Festival. Thank you very much, KPFA.
And let's go to the song.
That was Radley Davis, who sang the opening prayer, and he's from Pitt River Nation.
For those that
and he's also a board member of the International Indian Treaty Council Conference. We have with us this morning Andrea Carmen, and I wanted to welcome you again to Radio Free Alcatraz, as we like to call it.
Welcome everybody this morning to this beautiful island as we wait to greet the sun on this sacred day.
If you want to come back here and
it's always a pleasure to be able to talk with you. Usually you're out of the city nowadays, and so when you come back to the San Francisco, it's nice to be able to catch up and find out what International Indian Treaty Council is doing.
Really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. And right now, International Indian Treaty Council is doing Alcatraz. We're the hosts of this gathering, along with American Indian Contemporary Arts, for many years, and we have more than 3,000 people that are being gathered in the circle here, and we're about to hear the pomo dancers. I want to thank everybody for listening in this morning, and especially thank those who made it out to the island this morning. The sun is not up yet, but we're starting to see light over the horizon, and we're going to be greeting our sacred grandfather the sun in a few minutes in a good way. We're going to be talking in a few minutes out in the circle about the actual history of this day and the truth in history that we're trying to keep alive here. This was actually a commemoration of a massacre. The first Thanksgiving was declared officially by Massachusetts Bay Colony Governor in 1637 to commemorate the slaughter of 700 Pequots during their green corn ceremony. They were unarmed in ceremony when they were killed.
Because the municipal buses don't run quite this early, I was able to take a cab, and a South Indian man, from India, was driving Sabrina and I to the to get to the boat, and it was really interesting. He asked us to sing a morning song for him, which we did, and he said that it was a very, very special day for him to have people that were doing a prayer ceremony on a day that. And I told him about the Pequots, and I told him about, the original Thanksgiving. And I said that every single day of our lives is a day of Thanksgiving because we're very grateful to the Creator for another day of life. And that's what we have to remember. This is a day of honoring truth and history. So thank you very much for bringing that up, and I'm sure you'll be talking in the circle as well.
We're remembering also the 41st anniversary of the occupation of Alcatraz, which started the Indian movement in this country and around the world. To me, there's a direct chain between the occupation in 1969 and the adoption of the UN Declaration on Rights of Indigenous Peoples, that only the U.S. is the only holdout country in the
Canada
world. Canada just endorsed the declaration. So what is it about this country? Something to think about there, But also, that the occupation of Alcatraz galvanized me as a freshman at the University of California. Richard Oakes and a couple other students came to talk to our Native American Student Association.
I think we're going to go back to the circle for a minute or two. I think Lakota is about to come on.
Our MC, Lakota Hard.
Oh, we're doing some pomo dancing first.
Pomo dancers always.
Yeah, this is Doug Duncan from Pomo Nation, and this is one of our local California Indian nations, and it's always important for those of us who have been relocated to this Bay Area, this beautiful country, to honor and respect the original people of the land.
This time we are dedicating most of the presenters today are California Indian Nation representatives, and it's very important for us to recognize them. Sometimes, you're right, we sort of forget that this is somebody's land. There's so many nations that were relocated here and have come to live here that we need to recognize the struggles of original peoples of this land. I just want to mention, something I'm not going to talk about very much, and that's that out there in the circle when I take the floor out there. But I'm headed this evening for Cancun, Mexico, the 16th Conference of the Parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, as they call it, the UNFCCC. And I was asked by the indigenous peoples of North America, Canada, and United States to be the steering committee representative on the Global Steering Committee of Indigenous Peoples. So I'm going early to meet with all the indigenous peoples from around the world. But the sad thing is that the countries have already said that they have no intention of coming to any kind of decision to legally bind countries to reduce their emissions this time. That isn't even a goal of theirs. And really, that's the whole point. We were in Panama for our International Indian Treaty Council conference last year, and those islands are going underwater now. Our Pacific nations are going underwater. Whole villages are falling off the coast in Alaska. Traditional foods can't be found anymore. Lakes are drying up. And this is a crisis that I think the human family has not even begun to fathom the extent of what we're up against. So I want to ask for everybody's prayers for not just the indigenous peoples that are coming from around the world to Cancun to try to get our voices heard, but those world leaders who are going to be making these decisions that change their hearts and minds, because all of our survival is at stake. So I just want to mention that as well.
Yeah, there's a very important message from Oren Lyons that's going out to people who says just directly that. We have to get in our leaders' faces. We have to demand that they recognize the fact that the earth is crying out for help.
This is a climate crisis, as indigenous peoples have recognized it. And yeah, one of my favorite quotes on climate change was from Oren Lyons. He was speaking to a group of social responsible investors a few years ago at a conference we organized, and he said it very simply. He said, "You may not understand climate change now, but you will come to understand it." And that's all. and there was silence in the room as people fathomed what he could be referring to. And, all of our grandchildren are looking to us to see what can be done to make a world that they can survive in, because it's going to come to that. So, we're headed to Cancun. We're up against a lot, including the indigenous peoples who do not have a formal voice in the process. We can't even get in the room to a lot of these debates, and that's one of the demands that we have. And as well as that the UN Declaration on Rights of Indigenous Peoples be recognized in this process. It was adopted by the General Assembly, and any UN process is bound to implement and base their work on those rights that are now recognized.
And we don't have to depend on our power. There was a tornado in the Midwest a couple of days ago in November.
Yeah.
This does not usually happen.
No, and I live in Alaska part of the time, and we had a meeting of gathering of elders in September in Alberta to talk about the impacts of climate change. And they said their treaties in their language, in their Cree language, say as long as the sun shines, the rivers flow, and the grass grows. And all those things are changing because of climate change. So it's a threat to treaty rights as well in their traditional understanding. They're going out to fish at the lakes they've always used, and overnight those lakes are drying up because, say, how can that happen? Shouldn't it take a few years or a few months? It's because the tundra holds those lakes like a glass bowl. And as soon as it heats up above freezing, the water gets sucked down, into this mossy tundra. And overnight, lakes are disappearing where people have used them for fishing and survival for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They're gone overnight. And that's the effect they're seeing in the north already. In our Yaqui communities in Sonora, corn isn't growing anymore because the water is not there, and the climate is changing, and the dryness is coming. We're talking about a crisis of food security globally as well already, not 50 years from now. So I'm just asking for prayers and good thoughts from everybody out there who's listening for the work that Indigenous peoples are going to be doing in the next couple of weeks in Cancun. And there'll be people demonstrating in the streets and people inside the building trying to convince the world leaders to take a stand, give up some of this so-called development, this industrial contamination, because their grandchildren are at stake as well as ours. So those are the words I want to share here today, and thank everybody for being out here. I'm not trying to depress anybody. We're here to give thanks for our lives and for the sacrifice of those that went before us, and just remember what we have to do. It's weighing heavily on me now because I'm leaving today. So thank you for being here, and it's a beautiful morning. It's a beautiful morning, and we give thanks for our lives this morning. Hiapsi Pavet Sivo. Thank you for the beating of our hearts this morning.
Thank you. You're live on Radio Free Alcatraz, and we are in the process of listening to and us being very thankful for the folks who are dancing their prayers on the hard stone rocks of Alcatraz Island, and wanted to also just say that Doug Duncan and the Pomo dancers are right now doing their prayers with their feet, so that's what you're hearing in the background.
Oh, Mary Jean, good morning, and all my relations listening in. It's Tony Gonzalez coming at you, representing the American Indian Movement, and here on the West Coast, AIM West. As I look over to my right, I see the star bright. It's a Venus on my right. It's a beautiful day. As was mentioned, several thousand people here this morning, as in the years past, in the recent years past. Welcoming everyone here and hearing the words of Andre and Carmen, of the Executive Director of International Indian Treaty Council, about the upcoming meeting in Cancun, the Conference of the Parties 16th, or the COP16. As some of you know, the world community and countries met in Copenhagen in December of last year. And, it was very disappointing, to say the least, with no agreement reached, no renewal of the Kyoto protocol, and it's due to terminate or that agreement from Kyoto in 2012. And what came out of Denmark was an accord in the last day or two, and much to the dismay of the world community. And I have to just say, Mary Jean, that the demonstrations and the protest that was waged in Denmark was for several reasons. One of which was the frustration that NGOs and the community, peoples of the world that traveled to Denmark and were unable to go into the conference itself. I mean, the conference was held at the Bella Center. And
well, it sounds like once again they're going to keep indigenous people out and people.
Well, it's not only that.
NGOs and folks like that.
It's only able to hold like 15,000 people, 40,000 registered. So that means a lot of people were left out, including myself. But importantly is the demonstration itself. I think there was less than 200 indigenous peoples from the world at Denmark. But I think that's going to change here in Cancun when it begins November 30 through December 10. Indigenous peoples are mobilizing. I mean, there's going to be big rallies in both Cancun and in Mexico City. So we can expect, some frustrated people. As you all recall, 1999 and the battle for Seattle, or what was waged in Seattle against the World Trade Organization, was a demonstration of people power, of people that had enough, outside of the side activities that happen on the streets. Overall, the people in Seattle waging a demonstration against the World Trade Organization is, I think, similar to what we might see in Mexico and Mexico City and Cancun.
So one of the things that I think people need to realize is that quite often this country, a lot of people don't come out to protest like they did in France when they tried to raise the age of being a senior. And in this country, they slid it right by. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Can you hold your mic up and introduce yourself to us on the radio?
All right. Fred Wapipaw, Kickapoo Nation, Oklahoma. In my early sobriety days, I came out here in the early 70s, and they had commodity cheese out here, and I really admired people that had the tenacity to stay out here and what they were, how they were aware and taking advantage of something that the government had left the door open to. I really appreciate the turnout here today. There's a lot of good feelings and a lot of love, and it's just that. And I just came over here to see if I could sit down for a little while, and so here I am on the microphone. And God bless Thanksgiving and everything that it means, and God bless what this ceremony, tonight's ceremony means. I hope.
Thank you for joining us this morning. It's a real treat to have elders of your stature come in and say hello. Also wanted to join the folks out at the circle. I think I see several people out there. Ross Kadee is here, who's also on Bay Native Circle. Maybe we can get him to say a few words as well. And Janine Antoine. Good morning. Welcome to Radio Free Alcatraz. How are you?
Good morning. Mary Jean, how are you?
Good. Good to see you.
You awake yet?
Yeah. Hey, I've been awake. Paul Owns a Saber woke me up at 3:30 this morning. He says, okay, my job's done. I'm going back to sleep.
Did a wake-up call?
Yeah.
I got a few wake-up calls, mostly from the youth.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I'm glad to see all these California Indian people out here.
It looks like there's quite a few in the circle right now.
Yeah.
The traditional Pomo dancers. I recognize those songs.
Yeah.
They represent my nation, Pomo Nation.
Yeah.
I'm an Afro-Pomo myself.
And wanted to say you've been doing an awesome job with all your radio stuff and all your work with the youth. Tell us a little bit about your trips to Palestine.
We've successfully went to Palestine and came back. And I remember actually when I came back, Tony Gonzalez told me a story that was pretty interesting about him going to Palestine. When you want to share that, Tony?
That's right. I was there in Beirut, 1980, with Yasser Arafat, and invited actually by the Red Crescent Society. It was headed up by his brother. I forget the doctor's name at this time, but I was there, and I witnessed a lot of military activity, invasion, intrusions, and bombings, and I went to some of the villages that where massacres had occurred, in fact, by some of the Israeli soldiers that would move into that area. So it was quite an experience for myself, Ross, and I was there like for a month, 30 days of March, during the time of the Iranian hostage, where the U.S. soldiers were being held in Tehran and for 444 days. But it was a very good experience. So that is to say that indigenous peoples from North America, like myself, as Chicanos and other people of color, have been having a long relationship with the Palestinian people and the struggle. And of course, we liken their struggle similar to ours. We are the Palestinians here in this hemisphere in North America, and they are the Indians in the Middle East, as they say, or out there. So we'll continue to support and provide that solidarity until peace comes to both peoples. Ross and Mary Jean, indeed, I was at the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, at the Commission on Human Rights about 15, 20 years ago, and the Israelis representatives were verbally attacking the Palestinians. The Palestinians were attacking the Israelis, and then the Israelis referred to the Palestinians as being racist, for example, and the Palestinians came back, and the whole world's listening and watching, right? And the Palestinian people representatives said, how can we be racist when we're Semites too? So you see, the relationship is so tight that we have to find peace for both them and for the world community that is watching and feeling helpless sometimes.
Well, part of educating ourselves too, as youth, as young people, we took a young youth delegation, indigenous youth delegation, and part of our gaining awareness around the issue was just educating ourselves, about what was going on there, because we don't get informed through school, we don't get informed through the media, we don't get informed through only through KPFA and through sources like that,
So valuable it is, yes.
So we had to educate ourselves beforehand and really learn from other Palestinians, and read certain books and get watch certain films and kind of educate ourselves for a couple years before we even went. And then when we finally got to go, we took about 12 youths from here, from the Bay, and from Haskell University and from the East Coast, and we were able to bring to learn a lot and really educate ourselves on the ground, working in the refugee camps and working with young people in the refugee camps, and that was really powerful to have that exchange as well. Bringing Native youth there to share their culture and talk about how their families went through boarding school or an exile, from their original territory, because all those Palestinian youth, all their brothers and fathers and grandfathers are all in exile or in prison, and so it was a really they could our youth could really relate to that, and that was really powerful. And then we had a grass dancer with us, so he was able to do some grass dancing, And then they did their Dubka dance, you know, and that's like a perfect segue here, because I remember when they came here to the island and did the Dubka dance a few years back.
That's right.
I remember that. Yeah, that was good.
And I understand that the Palestinian support groups and committees are energizing to make another attempt to go into the Gaza area there off the Mediterranean. And of course, we know what occurred last year. It was very fatal, and in their attempt to provide the supplies and necessary medical equipment and the attack that occurred on the flotilla. But there's another effort to launch that in the coming year, sometime in March, April.
Even the flotillas that they tried to get in with Senator McKinney and other some famous artists, were a couple boats have been denied as well.
Congresswoman McKinney.
Congresswoman McKinney. Yeah.
So thank you for doing that work. I mean, it's really important. And I just wanted to also say that you're a fellow radio programmer and enjoy listening to your show as well. So
likewise.
Bay Native Circle, huh?
Yeah, Wednesdays at 2. Every Wednesday. Been holding it down for like 6 years now.
Yeah.
7 years now, maybe. I don't know. Been a while.
Good work.
And Mary Jean, Ross. I wanted to say a few words to the Spanish-speaking community. Un buen día, un saludo. Ese día que Estados Unidos ha nombrado
el día de desgracia.
De desgracia, porque mucha gente no sabe, Miguel y Mary Jean, que en 1637 fue una campaña de terrorismo contra el pueblo indígena y masacraron unos 700 personas, adultos, niños, ancianos.
O guanapanengos, ¿verdad?
Sí, era la gente, los Pequots, los Penobscot y los Wampanoags, todos juntos, un masacre, pero así es que este día es un día de propaganda.
They just got federal recognition.
Sí, un montón, así es. And that's what we're here for on the island, is to dispel those myths, shatter that those lies.
Right, lies that pilgrims and Indians gathered together in a festive mood. Now we know how the pilgrims were. They were Puritans. They were extremist Catholics. Christians.
Mercenaries.
And mercenaries. And they came here with an attitude, and it was such a supremacist kind of stance, hombre, that after a year they felt threatened, and that's when they launched their attack that wiped out those tribes you mentioned.
And of course, what we're saying is Indian point of view of how we perceive them as mercenaries. In fact, they had the blessings of England and the countries out there to come out here and look and explore. And if we were to look at the condition, the environment of Europe and England at that time, from what I understand also, the forests were already being reduced to almost nothing. So, and that was the energy power of the time. And so England was giving these pilgrims, or these people who were being denied their religion, quote unquote, or whatever story that might have been, to come over here, explore, and colonize. And in that process, these pilgrims came armed to the teeth and ready for killing, and that's what ensued in 1637.
And we're here this morning, right here on Radio Free Alcatraz, with a new generation of leadership. I wanted to welcome you and say, can you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your father and why you were here?
My name is Victoria Gemmel. I'm Pit River Wintun, Yana, and Athabaskan. I'm here to honor my father and those that fought for our rights, locally and internationally. I'm honoring those ancestors that have fought for our rights here.
And Vicki, can you tell us a little bit about some of the struggles? Because Pitt River, a group of people left Alcatraz when they first occupied Alcatraz and went to Pitt River to take that back.
Yes, they went to Pitt River for Four Corners and did succeed in taking that back. There were many issues thereafter as well. One of them being the remains of Ishi. That was one of the things that my dad also was a part of. He was able to bring those remains back from the Smithsonian, who denied having them for over 80 years. And at this time, he has been put to rest in a secluded location on his land. So
that's so important. You know, that this is one of the major struggles going on right now with the new regulations as far as the Native American Grave Repatriation Act goes, because they just said that the folks who are non-federally recognized can also get their bones and their bones of their ancestors returned to their land and returned to them. And so this is such an important struggle.
Yeah, there's still colleges that hold the remains of our ancestors, and that's an ongoing issue that we're still fighting and need assistance with.
The other thing about that is that, you know, when you're non-federally recognized, it would be really, really wonderful if the bones could be reinterred into the land that they were taken from, and that land returned to the original people.
Yes, that would be nice if we could have that.
Makes, you know, the way the dominant society works makes that very extremely difficult, but that's the dream that I heard Karina Gould talk about when she walks on the Shell Mound Walk. Her prayers are that when the bones are returned, they can be reinterred where they were taken from.
Yeah, we continually fight for our land, and we continually fight for what we have just to keep what we have. With the revenue from the casinos, they are buying more land, which is being put in trust. So someday, yeah, it's a possibility.
At a time, you know.
An acre at a time,
yeah. An acre at a time to buy, to get the land back. You know, reclaiming, and it's an ongoing struggle, the land struggle. I mean, we have so many struggles facing us, and you know, and here we are almost 400 years, you know, after the landing of the Pilgrims on you know, Plymouth Rock, and we still have, you know, basically the same conditions. I mean, for the most part, Native peoples live, you know, in third world poverty. Last year when the UN rapporteur came through, you know, they ended up in South Dakota. And they said, you know, the woman, the official from the UN, in her report, as she was given it verbally, started crying from what she saw. And it wasn't in some other country. It was here. And it was in Indian land. So while we're talking, you know, in some ways, it's happening because people, you know, tribes have taken on the casinos and other economic development projects that have helped. But for the most part, the majority of people are still living in poverty, in extreme conditions.
Yeah, and it's really important to point out that when people come to the urban areas for jobs or in a better life for their kids, the federal government then says that they are no longer eligible for health care benefits. And the casinos themselves don't pay for health care benefits for urban people.
Well, one of the problems is that our unrecognized tribes, which is something that we do need to work on, those tribal members don't have access to the health care that the recognized tribes do.
Yeah, exactly. So. And that's a whole other issue and a whole other problem. So we have a couple of people who just were on the air welcoming people to the island. Morningstar Galley, who is also Pitt River. and then Lakota Hardin, who was on the air, and I believe Andrea Carmen is now talking on the main mic. But we have with us a very special guest. Can you introduce yourself, and I want to be able to tell people about why you're here and what's going on in your part of the country.
Baju, Nigan away we done Indigenous cause or Sichak, Dordain, Anishinaabe, Ogichida, Three Fire Society, Gathering of Sacred Pipes, American Indian Movement. My spirit name is Nigan away we done, or the Thunder Before the Storm. And I'm Anishinaabe from northern Minnesota, one of the founders, currently the national director of the American Indian Movement. It's an honor to be here today and to welcome all of our relatives, all of our friends, our relative brothers and sisters, aunties, uncles, grandpa, grandmas, back here once again to the symbol of resistance. And back in the late 60s and early 70s that began not only here in Alcatraz but in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the American Indian Movement was formed, when we felt that absolutely nothing was being done to upgrade the conditions that Indian people were forced to live under here in America. At a time when absolutely nothing was being taught in the public and parochial school systems about Native people and the mass contribution that they made to a modern-day society. Thanksgiving isn't new to us.
Yeah, they hoped we had disappeared and wouldn't reappear again.
Well, there's a time in our history, you know, that every single thing that we did, everything, we went to plant a garden, tapped a maple sugar tree, harvest a wild rice, hunt a buffalo. You know, no matter what we did, there had to be a prayer, there had to be a song. And when that crop came in and we came back with the buffalo, we came back with the venison and all that, we had to take care of our elders. And guess what we had? We didn't wait for Abraham Lincoln to declare the last Thursday to mark
Every day was Thanksgiving Day.
Thanksgiving every second day of the week. And that's, of course, when we were uncivilized. When we're uncivilized, we prayed all the time. But now that we're civilized, many of us wait all year for this day. Today, I called today for the immigrants that came across the water, today is Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving, it's Thanks-taking. But the Indian people, it's Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for today. There's an estimated 120 million Indian people erased from the face of the earth since Columbus got here and the conquistadors got here. Here in America alone, there's estimated over 16 million people. But at the massacre of Wounded Knee in 1890, there's something like 240,000 of us left. So we have a lot to be thankful for today. And I understand there's close to 5,000 people out here on the island today. And it's a beautiful scene. It's beautiful what we're seeing here. Black Elk said that the sacred hoop withered and died in 1890 at Wounded Knee, scattered in the blood-soaked hills in the snow surrounding this little hamlet called Wounded Knee. But Black Elk, went back in 1935, an old man thinking he'd become enfeebled and all that. And he had a vision. The Creator showed him a vision. And he said that the sacred hoop would come alive again someday, would be mended. And what a scene to see here today, that sacred hoop that our grandfathers talked about. That here, right here, of all places, on a rock called Alcatraz. We are here from all nations today.
Yeah, and it was set up as a prison for some of the first prisoners were the Hopi people who refused to allow their children to be taken away, and the government took them away anyway and imprisoned the parents right here on Alcatraz Island. It was where the people in struggle in California, I think the Modoc Wars, they incarcerated some folks here on Alcatraz. So we're celebrating freedom. We're celebrating the release of the prisoners from off of Alcatraz. We're also praying and hoping for the release of Leonard Peltier. So I hope all of you call to President Obama and ask for his freedom.
Thank you very much. We also want the declaration that was passed after 30 years called the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People of the World. The United States government and the Canadian government are the only two left.
Canada just signed it.
Oh, well.
2 days ago.
We got to get on Obama.
So U.S. is the only holdout.
About 3 years ago, I told people, don't get too excited, because we have a black president. Because there will come a day, I told him, when we're going to have to hold his feet to the fire. And I think that day is here. We have to ask him, we have to call him, not only to free Leonard Peltier, but sign the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples of the World, which means 47 million of us will be recognized in that particular declaration. And one of the reasons why the government here won't sign it is because, then they have to deal with over 600 treaties with Indian people.
Oh, my goodness. And how about the ones that they buried in the drawer for 50 years with the California Indian people? All 17 of those that were actually never ratified. Which means if a treaty was never signed, that means the land still belongs to the people.
That's right. They don't have clear title. We're the only ones that have clear title.
Yeah.
To the land. So anyway, that's, basically why the American Indian Movement was born. And one of the first things we knew we had to form is the International Treaty Council, which brought together indigenous people from throughout the Western Hemisphere. And we declared to the world that we're not minorities. We're not minorities. We're sovereign nations fighting for what is rightfully ours today. And that struggle will continue, and our children and unborn generations to come, they're the ones that are going to really benefit from what we're doing today. And
that's one of the wonderful things to see all the youngsters here.
It's beautiful. And I always tell these young people when I speak in classrooms that, I say I'm 74 years old. When I'm talking to 10, 12 years old, they're 60 years ahead of me. When I was their age, I wasn't even allowed to be an Indian. You couldn't even apply for a job. You had to tell them you're French or some other nationality, or you'd never call you back. And, we were told to forget about our past and think about the future. And I was saying, the movement was saying, if we forget about our past, we'll never have our future. Our future is our past.
Yeah.
And that's happening today throughout America. People laughed at us when the movement formed. Oh, you got to forget about the past, think about the future. Now those same people that are laughing at us have their own schools, language immersion programs are in every tribe, in every nation. Our schools are springing up, our immersion program, our languages are coming back, and all the beautiful traditional ways are coming back. Ways that we with us for hundreds and thousands of years before Columbus, when landed here. When every single thing that we did, we had to pray, we had to sing, we had to dance.
And it's really, really beautiful to see the sun rising up over this island, to see the seagulls flying over, welcoming us, and the sun coming out and greeting us right here on this beautiful, beautiful place. We're here on the island, and there are people from all over the world here. There are thousands of people gathered here around the fire. We've been saying prayers and conducting ceremony right here in a very, very special place. This is the 41st anniversary of the occupation of Alcatraz. Actually, Alcatraz was occupied for over 19 months, so it's still the 40th anniversary of Alcatraz because it lasted for longer than a year. So we again are celebrating that original occupation that transformed. I think it was prophesied. You know, there were prophecies that said that we would be pushed to a rock on the western edge of the world, and then the Indian spirit would return and bring the buffalo back, bring the grasslands back, and that's what we're seeing. You know, we're actually going to be seeing.
That's correct. You know, we are. When we formed the American Indian Movement, we started meeting elders that told us, that prophesied that this day here would come, that our people would come back together. And here we are today. Almost every tribe in the Western Hemisphere is present here today. The North and the South have come together. There's no the only immigrants are the ones that came across the water.
Right.
The rest of us are all relatives, all brothers and sisters.
And the borders crossed us.
That's right.
We're going to go now back to Lakota Hardin, who is the MC at the main circle.
Think of all of our veterans, Wounded Knee veterans, Alcatraz veterans. If we have any veterans, if you want to just come and stand at the front of the circle so we can acknowledge you and honor you. Any veterans, please. I know that sometimes there's controversy over why do Native people honor this flag and, you know, stuff, but we come from warrior societies for protecting our people, for protecting our homelands and stuff. So this is important in our history of our people. We've always welcomed our veterans home. We always do that healing for them. So any of the veterans, if you just want to be acknowledged, to come up here and we'll sing this veteran song.
Okay, we are back on live from the island of Alcatraz, and we have some very special guests here with us this morning. Can you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Tôi là Nguyễn Văn Dinh. Tôi đến từ Việt Nam. Tôi lần đầu tiên được tham gia cái lễ hội của người thiểu số ở đây để đón mặt trời mọc.
My name is Nguyễn Văn Dinh. I'm from Vietnam. It is my first time to attend such a wonderful festival organized by the Indian people.
And we have with us also, you know, Vietnam has a history with the United States, and we have with us someone who was in your country serving with the...
Right, Mary Jean, thank you. I myself was in Vietnam as a soldier infantryman, 1968 and 69. And I consider myself a war criminal and been trying to live a better life and understanding that we have similar experiences with both government, including this government here in the United States has failed to provide reparations or for the damages, and I understand or recall that it was a part of the peace accords, 1972. Violations, another treaty violated in that instance, as treaties violated to American Indians here. Can you respond to that?
Của thân nhân ở đây giành lại đất đai của mình, có cảm nhận thế nào?
Tôi cũng là một cựu chiến binh tham gia chiến tranh ở Việt Nam. Tôi bảo vệ tổ quốc của tôi và hôm nay tôi rất vinh dự tôi được sang đất nước Mỹ để cùng với các bạn đón cái ngày lễ rất là thiêng liêng của người tâm linh.
Yeah, I must say that I am also a veteran, and we fight for our country independence, and also we feel very honored to see such. You have been making a lot of progress, and especially through this festival. I highly appreciate for what you have been doing for the Indian American in United States.
Tôi với bạn trước đây là
Those we are standing in the opposite side, but now we are standing together here, enjoying such a wonderful ceremony.
Tôi rất cảm ơn các bạn đã có cuộc phản chiến và đấu tranh để cho hòa bình.
I thank you for. I highly appreciate what you have been doing for these people, this area.
And có cái hành động ủng hộ đó của các bạn.
And thanks to your action that we have gained peace from the war. Thank you.
And I also hope that we'll say prayers for our government to do something about the Agent Orange that was dropped on your country as well.
Tôi hy vọng rằng là chính phủ Mỹ cũng có một cái hành động tích cực đối với vấn đề giải quyết chất độc da cam ở Việt Nam.
Chúng tôi cũng rất cảm ơn nhân dân Mỹ, cảm ơn các bạn đã cùng chúng tôi đấu tranh để đòi công lý cho người.
We thank you, American people. We thank you all personally for standing side by side with us, struggling for the justice of Agent Orange victims in Vietnam and America.
Tôi tin rằng các chính phủ Mỹ sẽ phải có trách nhiệm để giải quyết cái hậu quả.
And I do believe that, I strongly believe that the United States government have to take responsibility for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We want to honor this time with children who are here, and to help them so that they can go on with their life as many of us have, and show them that they can look forward.
This is Miguel Gavilan Molina here on Radio Free Alcatraz with Mary Jean and Tony Gonzalez. I just want to say that it's top of the hour. It's a little before 7 o'clock. You're listening to KPFA 94.1 FM on your Pacifica network, and we've been here doing this broadcast since 6. We'll be here till 8 o'clock. And again, this is the 41st anniversary of the occupation of Alcatraz. And we're welcoming everyone that just tuned in. We've gathered here to a day of mourning and for those that have given their lives. So
you're listening to 94.1 KPFA in Berkeley or 89.3 KPFB in Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno, and online at kpfa.org.
Thank you for that echo. And like I said, this is Radio Free Alcatraz on your Pacifica Network. And now coming up is Janine, who's going to be joining Mary Jean here for this next part of the broadcast. And
if we can twist the cords around. Good morning, Janine. Once again, back on the air together. It's always a pleasure.
Good morning, Mary Jean. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Thank you for doing your work this morning and bringing all the people in and letting our listeners know what's happening here. I think Ross is coming somewhere too, Ross Kadee, who's also one of the hosts for Bay Native Circle.
Yeah, Ross was on earlier.
Yeah, I saw him talking. Oh, there he is. Ross Kadee is here, so.
Bay Native Circle. And I wanted to personally thank you for all your very, very hard work in doing all the calendaring. You know, because I get lost these days trying to figure out what all is going on in our very active urban setting.
Getting the word out. Well, there's a lot of people here. I don't know how many thousands of people are here, but it's pretty crowded. And I know that AIM West has been having their conference this week, all week long, so I'm sure that a lot of the people that are here were at the conference as well, attending the conference.
Yes, very successful.
I heard it was going really well, so good job on that, Tony. And Clyde was on the air earlier as well, so we still have another hour of programming to go. So we have Jeremy Goodfeather coming up, and Maori. I'm not sure if it's a delegation or an individual from the Maori Nation who's going to be doing a song.
Acknowledge our good friend and let him go.
And
let him go on. And
we also have the Aztec dancers that will be closing the program. In addition, we're going to be having a couple of California natives, Susie. What's Susie's last name? Susie and Monique Sonakwe, who will be coming on with us as well.
I'd like to take the time to thank Tony Gonzalez and Mary Jean for holding it down on the radio this morning.
All right, Ross.
Getting it started in a good way today. And welcoming Janine Antoine, one of the hosts of Bay Native Circle. And I myself speaking, and Ross Kadee. We're going to help host part of this program today.
And you know, Ross, later on this morning after we get off the island, there will be a press conference there at the Pier 33. Clyde Belcourt, myself, Yvonne Swan, Jolene Peaks, and Samson Wolf.
Who is Jolene Peaks?
She's California Indian lady.
Robinson Rancheria.
Robinson Rancheria, and she's a part of those that have been disenrolled.
Okay.
And she's speaking on behalf of the thousands in California alone who are disenrolled, and unfortunately there seems to be approval by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, so we'll have the press conference addressing that. Clyde will be talking about Minneapolis and the American Indian Movement and the Interpretive Center. Samson Wolf will talk about Leonard Peltier and his medical condition, and people need to call President Obama. Yvonne Swan will talk about women's rights and the prison systems. And so, you know, we have a good press conference at the end of this
Disenrollment
morning.
seems to be a really big issue, you know, with everything that's been going on. You know, I know that a lot of the California tribes have been really decimated. You know, Chukchansi, I think they lost about 65% of their membership in the last few years. And I know that a bunch of the Pomo nations have lost quite a few hundred or 1,000.
Yeah, it's really, you know, putting us in between a rock and a hard place because you want to exercise sovereignty, but at the same time you don't want to support people who are disenfranchising and committing genocide against their own people. It's such a frustration because in a way you want to support the fact that nations have a right to determine who is a citizen of that nation. But on the other hand, you have to find a way to support the people that have been disenfranchised as well.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of it goes back to the ways that the enrollment was set up. The idea of enrollment and who set those original terms of enrollment. The John Terrell rules.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
was who was the secretary of the BIA in 1912 when those rules were set up for our tribe. And during that time, a lot of the California natives were being persecuted, so they didn't even want to be on the res, and so
they didn't want to be counted.
They didn't want to be counted. They were speaking Spanish and hiding out in the rancheros, or hiding in the mountains, and so those original ways in which those rules were set up to document tribal enrollment was they're foul from the jump, and the numbers are the original members of the people that were originally counted on those rolls, weren't the real official numbers of those tribes, and if they're going back to those original documents, then those are inaccurate from the jump. So why are we starting there? We should be able to set our own enrollment standards.
Absolutely. And that's the issue. I mean, every nation has a right to determine who is a member of that nation. And what disturbs me more than anything else is that when you have a group of people who are getting a little bit greedy over monetary income, would determine that they have people that they want to get rid of from their nations. So they're committing genocide on themselves.
Well, I think there's so many issues in terms of enrollment, whether it's the immigration border issues or disenrollment or the fractionalization of people, the way they do the blood quantum issues and stuff. That's a concern for a lot of people, and it's all being addressed differently by different tribes. We're going to have a morning song here by Jeremy Goodfeather, so maybe we could switch over and listen to that as soon as he gets started. And I think Bill Means was going to call in. Is Bill Means going to call in this morning, Miguel?
Say what needs to be said, especially in the face of ignorance.
So he may call in momentarily. He's usually here every year, and he's in Minnesota still. So as soon as Jeremy does the song, we're going to switch over.
In the meantime, it's so beautiful just watching the sun hit the mountain rocks and looking at some of the plants and the birds that are flying around, watching the flags that are on the island, and finally feeling a little bit of warmth from the sun. It's really, when it's dark, it's cold on this island.
Again, that was Jeremy Goodfeather, and didn't quite catch his intro, but I think he said it was Arapaho, his uncle, that taught him that song.
It's really beautiful to see the staffs and the flags that are in front by the podium. They have a flag from the Mohawk Nation. They have a flag from one of the tribes of Oklahoma. I think the Tonkawa. I couldn't read it. And another flag with a face on the, a native face on the flag. It's amazing to see all the different nations and all the different groups gathered here.
The sun is just rising on the hill here as well. We're about to see the sun rise and touch everyone here in one moment.
And Ross, as I see the sun rising, I see hope. It reminds me of hope and how it radiates. And with that, I wanted to mention Leonard Peltier again to the listeners. And it's very simple to call the President Obama's office, and that number to call is area code 202-456-1111. 202-456-1111. And I'd like the listeners to every day try to make a habit of call the President and give a call and say Leonard Peltier must be set free. Grant an executive
and Mumia Abu-Jamal for that matter.
And Mumia, but that's the phone number.
And all these political prisoners.
And that's the phone number, 202-456-1111.
Another radio personality.
Jeremy Goodfeather, everyone.
Hey, you standing around there. Where'd you come from? I ain't seen you around here. I don't know who you are, so don't be coming around. Wash my car, paint my house, raise my kids, don't give me no lip, and maybe you could stay here. I'm busy building a wall, so don't be messing around. You know it ain't so easy, baby, to get back home when you ain't got a home to get back. No, it's just a little bit tricky, make me whole, and all my pieces left on the track. And everywhere I go is someone else's ground. I'm accidentally brown. Accidentally brown. Went to Spain to see if I could stay a while. They looking at me like I was a redhead stepchild. Must have lost my way when they cut out my tongue. Went out to Hollywood for a movie I could star in. Look like a cowboy, so you sure can't be no Indian. We got a job on the side selling flowers and gum. You know it ain't so easy, baby, to get back home when you ain't got a home to get back. No, it's just a little bit tricky. Make me whole when all my pieces are left on the track. And everywhere I go is someone else's ground. I'm accidentally brown. I'm accidentally brown. Yeah, I'm accidentally brown. You know I dyed my hair, changed my name, wearing color contacts just to fit in the game. Try to talk the lingo without rolling my R's. And every time I look, you know it's always the same. Families torn apart by the American dream. Practicing our culture in cantinas and low-riding cars. And everybody's up in arms about Zion. But every time you build a house, you're digging the bones. And No, it's just a little bit tricky. Make me whole when all my pieces are left on the track. And everywhere I go with someone else's ground, I'm accidentally brown. I'm accidentally brown.
Hello, everybody.
Jeremy Goodfeather, accidentally brown. It's really hard to hit those notes in the cold out here.
Yeah.
you gotta, especially in the steel string guitar, you know.
With him, and I think that the thing about Jeremy that I know that I'm going to share is that he's a good family man. His family comes first before everything, and they're involved in all the ceremonies. He doesn't go off by himself. He makes sure they're always together. So I think we need to do that mending for our families all together also. And at this time, I'd like to, again, just remember that he is playing at the Treaty Council fundraiser. All the board members are going to be there. In a little while, we're going to have a haka from one of our Maori brothers that's going to be there. We have
also the voice of Lakota Hardin there, who's in the main circle, directing the main circle, and then talking about the events that are taking place tomorrow. One of the big events for Friday.
I don't think that's for tomorrow. That's for December 15th.
Oh, for December,
or something
okay.
like that, yeah.
Well, one of the big events for tomorrow is the Emeryville protest. For those people that don't know, the Black Friday protest has been going on for a few years now. Ever since the mall's been built, really. A group of young people with Indian People Organizing for Change, IPOC, have been going out there and kind of been organizing around the shell mounds that are there underneath the Emeryville Bay Street Mall. And they've been going there every Black Friday, the biggest shopping day of the year, to kind of commemorate those people.
Yeah. There's
my ancestors were prevented from going back to home, and they were put on the Colville Reservation, and that's where I'm enrolled. So I like to identify with my mother's family. My father was from the Assiniboine and the Chippewa Cree Nation. So I have a lot of ancestors who I'm feeling today here with me. And I honor my mother, Caked Pizza, shining blanket in the distance. I honor my grandfather, Hustulag, walks the earth. Our people are having a hard time, and we're all concerned for Mother Earth, and I thank you for being here on behalf of Mother Earth. We're sitting here on this rock, one of the bones of our mother, and we're praying to her, and we're honoring Father's Son coming up to bless us. She's very generous to us. She gives life as a woman has a special gift to give life. I honor my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, the ancestors. I'm emotional now because it's very difficult. I'm feeling some hard roads that people are going through. I'm feeling it. I want you to just have faith. Counter the negative, the deep, dark feelings, the sad feelings. Counter that with love. With love for creation, love for the Creator. And that'll give you power. We've got to enhance that power, and it'll grow. We're on this earth, and we're having a hard time. We're having a hard time walking that peaceful road. So in closing, I want to share a song with you that I wrote. In my heart, I'm asking Great Spirit to have pity on me, because I'm on this earth and I'm having a hard time, and I'm looking for the road of life. Waikins huya ya takes a weepin'. 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 Here not in no way. Colin shootin', con mean to Nick. Waikins huya ya takes a weepin'. Waikins huya ya takes a weepin'. Waikins huya ya takes a weepin'. Here not in no way. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. 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 He cannot have no way. Creator, Colin Chutin, have pity on me. Colin Chutin, con comin donne, why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. No, no. Oh yeah, he takes a beating. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Here na hen no way. Colin Chutin, con me donne. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Why quins oh yeah, he takes a beating. Here na hen no way. Why limlim tel kulkun hit. Thank you, my relatives, for your help.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge there's so many of us here that one of the boats just got here about 10 minutes ago. So welcome to them. And we're almost at the end of our program. Now we're going to have our Maori brother from Aotearoa who's going to do a prayer in their way for this morning's sun. And then we're going to have Fred and all of your tobacco and what we do, the reason we come here to make this offering is going to speak. And then we're going to have our brothers and sisters that are going to dance for us before we go down. But we also have a lot of time to stand in line down below. So we're going to set this up, and we have other speakers that will be sharing some very important information and some traditional thought. So welcome. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I stand before you in great honor to represent my people of Aotearoa from the far lands of the South Pacific. And I share this prayer in recognition to the way forward. And the way forward is to sing, is to dance, is to speak your language, is to honor those ancient traditions and really enjoy them. Nō reira. Tēnā koutou katoa. E te kainga, kaino ki a koe, kia manaki tia mai mātou e tēnei rā. Arahaina mai mātou kia te tika ki te pono. Tūkoa mai te wairoa tapu he manaki, he arihi, he tiaki ia mātou. Uhia mai o te mairangi, kei runga katoa e tēnei rā. Karorea ki te ingoa tapu. Āmene. Whakarunga! 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 Kia mau! Aringa paskia! Wai takahia! Hukia naioki! Hukia naioki! Kamate, kamate, kore, kore. Kamate, kamate, kore, kore. Tenete, tangata, hulu, hulu, tana itiki. Mabaka pititera. Ha hupane, ha hupane, ha hupane, kopane pititera.
He did a...
Once again, the Māori of New Zealand
a very, very powerful piece. The folks from Aotearoa are part of our International Indian Treaty Council and have always been representing.
Now we're going to have Fred Short explain a little bit and share a few words about this traditional ceremony. Everybody needs to move back and make space for the dancers who are coming in. Please move back.
So the Aztec dancers are getting ready to come in, and they have a beautiful ceremony. There's always so many of the dancers here. It's really amazing to see that every year, every October, every November, they're always here in force, and they do the ceremonial dancing and pray to the four directions and honor the sun as it comes up.
With very few clothes on and barefoot.
Right.
Yeah, they got
those
dancers.
Feathers.
They got dancers from San Jose, from the San Francisco area, from Oakland. All the dance groups are here.
Yeah,
and
right.
they're culminating together.
And I think they're a perfect example of the intertribalism. In many tribes within that dance group, and indeed, there's been a lot of activity all through this month, Native American Month. In fact, last week we had Rigoberta Menchú here from Guatemala visiting Oakland, the youth fundraiser there, and the youth empowerment group, and then she was out in the Concord area, expressing solidarity and inspiration, giving her story, sharing her story with the people, and so there's been a lot of activity going on.
Let's see what Fred has to say about the.
We're going to go back to the main circle with Fred Short.
This altar here, I was waiting for the sun. It is directly in line with the sun and the fire. It's not off by nothing. That sun comes up just like every day and goes down straight, just like it's trying to teach us in our lives to respect, to learn that. It's for me. It's easy for me because I've been living this way since 74 in the ceremonies. I respect this, but it bothers me here when I see a lot of people, even old-timers, walk across and disrespect a lot of places we go around that sacred fire and come this way and go back up the doors. We use the doors. I know there's a lot of people here that don't understand that, and that's what I feel. But this medicine is to help teach us, help get us away from that wandering thought that we are not paying attention to around us. These elders that are here, the people that are in the hospital, the homeless, people that the floods and disasters all over. This tobacco is for that, because there's people like all of us that are up here that have good prayers in our heart, that there are people be there to help them, just like the warriors that are here that have overcome and fought, stood up against the government and the different institutions that tried to oppress us. We're asking for that to continue to stop, for our children, for Mother Earth, and stop harming her like that. So that tobacco is very sacred. The drums and medicine here, everything in your lives, it's like that sun. Watch it. It travels across the sky the same way. It might move, but it doesn't zigzag. So,
Miigwech, Fred. As they get ready to make an offering, Fred does this every year as well, but, everybody that's here can go up and make an offering. I think they do that after the Aztec dancers, but while they're doing that, I wanted to ask Tony if you wanted to make an announcement about the remainder of the conference that's coming up and give people a schedule, because I know there is something happening Friday night, too, that people would probably
Yes, thank you, Mary Jean. Or it's Jenny, I'm sorry. Yes, tomorrow, and we're devoting the afternoon tomorrow discussions on climate change, global warming, and that how does that affect our people, and what kind of linkage can we make with the demonstrations that are happening, that will be happening in Cancun and Mexico City. The Indigenous Environment Network, for example, has a substantial delegation headed up by Tom Goldtooth, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow. And then, of course, tomorrow, remind everyone the Black Friday Emeryville protest. You know, that's, as Ross mentioned earlier, has been going on for several years now. We want to put a lot of attention on that. And then the afternoon discussion on climate change will be at the Baha'i Center in San Francisco, 170 Valencia Street. So the Baha'i Center, 170 Valencia Street, tomorrow from 12 to 5. And then Janine concert that night from 6 o'clock, the doors open at the Baha'i Center. We're going to have Savage Fam or Savage Family. We're going to have the Bob Young Project, Dr. Local. We're going to have rappers and poets. A great evening. We're taking advantage of President Obama's proclamation of Native American Heritage Day.
Right.
The day after, you're right.
26th.
Now will be historically the day after Thanksgiving. So, and in that proclamation,
as usual.
Right. Well, you take advantage of it.
We should do it the day before, you know.
Yeah. Well, take advantage of it. Him proclaiming to the public. He says that public to acknowledge that day and do something with the Indian community. So we're inviting people to the concert.
Proclamations for quite a few years now. The presidents have in terms of Native American Heritage Month. I know Indigenous Peoples Day, you know, is the same day as Columbus Day, and then California Indian Day is, I think, the fourth Saturday in September. And then what's the other one? American Indian Day is November 11th. I know in South Dakota they have American Indian Day, which doesn't coincide because, it's October 11th. So I guess the same as Indigenous Peoples Day. And then, the World Indigenous Peoples Day and the Day of Human Rights is coming up December 10th.
Right.
Recognition of human rights. So we have a lot of days here. We just need to consolidate them into a month, a decade. Holiday. I know. Anyhow, the Aztec dancers have just come in and Miguel introduced them. We missed a announcement by Lakota Hardin that the International Indian Treaty Council is going to be hosting an event at La Peña Cultural Center on December 15th, and that's a fundraiser for the Treaty Council. I think Jeremy Goodfeather is going to be performing there as well as some other performers, so please check that out. And I wanted to let people know as well that we have a community calendar where we put all these events out for your information, and if you want to go to kpfa.org, I think it's linked to the Bay Native Circle page. Ross Cadilla is one of the hosts for Bay Native Circle, as am I. And then we also have on the air with us as host today Tony Gonzalez with AIM West and Mary Jane Robertson with KPOO. And we wanted to take this opportunity as well to introduce and interview a couple of California Native peoples who were involved with the earlier Pomo dancers. So I'm going to go look for them. And
Janine, I'd like to mention our website for people that want to be in touch with the American Indian movement and give some support. And our website is www.aimwest.info. And with that and the goings-on activities with American Indian movement, Ross, as you recall last week, Dennis Banks won the American Indian Film Festival, the 35th annual Indian Film Festival with A Good Day to Die. And it's a autobiographical documentary there. Yes, it very effectively documents the actions that made and created Dennis Banks. And so I encourage people, when that movie comes around, check it out. A Good Day to Die.
Speaking of movies, we have a California Native filmmaker and producer of media, Monique Sinecue, in the building, or on the rock, we should say. And I know Monique has done a lot of work with film and media. You want to tell us a little bit about your work, Monique?
Sure, Haku Ayakui. Actually, recently I've been working on a pretty exciting project. Dina Dart Newton, she's Chumash Native American curator of the Burke Museum up at Seattle at the college there. She got a grant and is putting together community workshops and teaching people how to do really basic video editing on like iMovie and stuff like that. And so I went down and helped her out and got a chance to do a small little video on some wind caves that we're fighting for down in Santa Barbara area, the Hushaakui. And I'm finding it's because I do regular documentaries and they're more involved, but these are like little 3 to 5 minute pieces and real simple to do. So I was just talking to some people about the shell mounds, about let's put something together there because you can throw them on YouTube, you can throw them on your website, you can show them, you know, places. And they're really powerful and impacting because you can use music, of course, and narration and just hundreds of photographs. Because that really, I think that really touches people when they can see it. They can hear about it and sign a petition, but when they're able to go online, Facebook now, and click on and watch this little 3-minute video, it really moves them, I think, you know, and it really makes a strong impression on them. And I think that's a really good way to start getting people to thinking that you can do real basic stuff. You know, click a button on the internet now and, you know, you've got 3 letters going to your congressperson, you know, the president, your representative, stuff like that. And so I think this is a really good tool for Native communities, especially working on sacred sites, to get people to see it and make, you know, click that button because it's real easy to do.
Yeah, when I was talking to a friend yesterday actually about using technology as a tool or as a means to kind of to help with some of the issues that are going on in Indian country or even internationally, because there was no UN or no international courts or even just the internet to get the word out, or media to get the word out when our tribes were being persecuted here in California, and during the 1840s, were the big era of 1840s to up until now, really, in California, and so now we have that tool,
Yeah, and you got to learn how to use it.
Yeah, it's important.
I'm not a real techie person, but I can do basic stuff, and if I always tell people, if I can do it, you can do it. We had to print our own books. We had to learn how to write environmental impact statements. We've had to learn how to, write FOIAs and how to meet people and how to present. And so you really have to learn how to do everything from the ground up to be, successful, or at least to raise, hear your voice and raise some hell.
It's really important too, because so many people, when the non-California natives were relocated to California, so many times they were told there were no native people here, and that's one of the reasons why in the original Alcatraz there was not the presence of California natives that there needed to be, because this was their land.
Right.
So, I mean, Karina and Janella and all of the Californian natives locally who've been coming out and really supporting the Shell Mound walks and all of those things to bring attention to the people that are still here and still struggling and still having to deal with the non-federal recognition and with all the issues that are going on right now in California.
Right, and it is, like I said, it's a really good way also to show people that we're still here. When they can jump online and see video of real people, we're not all feathers and stuff. We're in the dirt, we're in the trenches, we're, screaming and, we're angry and we're singing and praying and all those things. And so we need to learn how to use these tools. In other words, you see a lot of photographers even here today, and where those pictures going to end up, So we need to have control of our own voices and our own images. And the way to do that is to seek out a way to, do our photos, do our video, do our, like you guys are doing radio, that kind of stuff. In other words, somebody's going to do it for us or do it to us, and interpret it our way.
Do it to us.
Yeah, so we need to take over,
Yeah. And the other thing is that I have to give props to Michael Smith and, the American Indian Film Festival for doing that work for so many years, for so long, before they had all this YouTube stuff and all that stuff. Right. They're encouraging Native filmmakers and giving the awards to the young actors and making sure that those people were recognized here in the city, locally.
Yeah.
And also, what was really interesting this year was at their Film Festival Awards, the Haida, the Alaskan Native people got their Chilkoot blankets returned to them by the museums.
Nice.
And they were able to actually dance those blankets on stage in the right way, you know, because that's going to be happening more and more often as we gradually get returns from the museum.
Right. Also, too, I was going to say that public radio, public TV. I did a TV show in Santa Barbara at the public access station. It was on Native musicians, you know, because I thought that would draw people, but everybody was an activist. So they got to sing, and then they got to talk about their activism. And then that show, you know, plays around the country. It plays in Seattle on a Native station there. It plays in San Diego on a station there. So, you know, video and radio are accessible. It takes a lot of work, and, you know, you got to train, but we can do it.
What are some of the other projects you've been working on? I know prior to the one you just described, what are some of the other projects that are kind of exciting or different or new in terms of bringing, you know, a lens or shaping, bringing vision to our communities?
Well, I just was hired by the Hoopa Library Archivist up in Northern California, and they got a grant to do about 30 elder videos, like 3 to 5 minute videos. So we're in the process of doing that, and that's really cool because you hear a lot of, sometimes it's just their lives, sometimes it's about the valley, you know, where you live and how it changed. So I mean, that's really, I think, powerful, and I'm really encouraging, I think the Yurok may jump on, just encourage them to do that because you know, we're oral historians, right? We pass it down, and video and radio is a way of our oral history. And I like the video because you can actually see, especially when they're elders, you can see them, and so their image really carries on.
I think that documentation is really important. You know, we're doing a Lakota language class, and it was on last Monday, the same evening as Rigoberta Menchú was doing a presentation, and I mentioned to the class that she was there, and people were like, "Who's Rigoberta Menchú?" I'm like, wow. That is recent history, you know, that she got the Nobel Prize, I think it was in 92, and, you know, young people don't even know that. So to, you know, record, you know, interview the elders is really important to document that as well.
Yeah, and on campuses, you know, I really encourage students on campuses. It's hard when you're a student and you're working hard and you only got, you know, a little bit of time, but, you know, when I was a student for 20-some years, because education always got in the way, you know, and last year we actually put on it, when I was at UC Santa Barbara, we put on, like, the first Indian conference, I think, ever there. It was an Indigenous Symposium on Race and Racism, and I videotaped the whole thing, you know, and want to edit it, and we had just mostly California Indian people come and talk about, you know, not just racism, but, you know, it was the underlining thing. They talked about their culture and their dances, and then, you know, that always, no matter what topic you talked about, education, culture, song, you know, ceremony, that racism always came through, you know. So what I want to do is start recording a lot of lecturers and a lot of people and use them for, you know, classroom purposes.
Yeah, the San Francisco State also has an ongoing art show right now, We Are Still Here, about Alcatraz.
Yeah, I actually went and checked it out, and it was a beautiful exhibit with produced by a bunch of the students from SF State, and one of my friends actually stretched a hide and painted on the hide. It was a really cool "We Are Still Here" sign to enter that exhibit. Yeah, but I want to thank you, Monique, for coming on the program and sharing some words. And is there any way people can reach you or contact you about your work with film?
Well, we have a nonprofit called the Indigenous Youth Foundation. We do a lot of programming in Santa Barbara and Northern California, and the website is www.chumash.org, and then my information is there. So pretty easy to track down.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right.
And I hope you come up here and share some of your wisdom and knowledge and teach some of the young people up here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we also have Susie here. Hey.
Yeah, we want to say welcome to Susie Moore. She's a Tule River Yokut. We're very happy to have her on with us today. She was dancing and singing with the Pomo dancers earlier when they opened the program this morning, and we want to make sure we have that California voice here in our program, so welcome very much, Susie. Thanks for being on with us.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you for having me speak here on KPFA. It's a beautiful morning here. You know, I thank Creator that I made it. I drove all the way from the Tule River Indian Reservation in Porterville. We left yesterday and we stayed with the dancers. And I'm just happy that that we're here this morning. I met Doug at the dock. We wanted to get here early, so we got good parking. And I brought my granddaughters to dance. I have Angelica Sanchez. She's from she's attending Sherman Indian High School, and she brought a friend from Montana, so it's her first time, Consuelo. First time here in California. So I was happy to bring the two girls, and she danced for the first time, here on the island, and it's her first time in the, in the Bay Area.
And is she a traditional dancer?
She's from
a fancy
Montana.
shawl dancer or a jingle dancer?
She's a fancy shawl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
but
cool.
She danced California.
Actually, the first time is that's cool. She danced California.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen a couple of traditional dancers. I think I've seen a grass dancer here. I don't know when they're dancing in, but I seen them there. I seen them here, so that was cool to see diversity here. And I know that you, Susie, I know you've been really involved with the community at Kuliloklo for a long time
Since
as well.
1996, I met Lanny Panola. He's the park ranger at Point Reyes National Seashore. We were together for 8 years to be married, and but unfortunately, he passed away in 2003. He died on my birthday. We were going to get married. We buried him on that day. It's a sad story, but true. He's being missed by everybody. He's always in my heart. His spirit's with me when he knows, when I'm, kind of lonely and blue. But life goes on, and I know that he has blessed me with so many people, so many friends, and it's just everywhere I go. I'm back home. I take care of my mom. I'm on the Tule River Indian Reservation. I've been there almost 2 years now. So I continue taking care of my mom, and she's in good health. I take her to all the events, and when I bring her down to the Bay Area, she goes, God, who are they? Why are they hugging me? And I go, Mama, because you're an elder. They love you. They knew Lanny. They knew. They see me. They still see Lanny in me. You'll always be like that, Mom, but today she didn't come. She thought it was going to be cold, and it's really not that bad here. It's beautiful. The sun is out. We had a beautiful sunrise, and so my girls, we took a lot of pictures so they can take back to Sherman, her and her friend, because it's going to be, they didn't have the day off in Sherman. They had to be in school. So it was, I told the teachers and the vice principal that it was going to be a cultural day for them so they can get credit, because they weren't going to get off. But we're going to go back. We're going to hang out in the Bay Area and then travel back to the Tule River, which took about 5 hours, 5-hour drive. Yeah, so...
well, I'd like to take the moment to just remember Lanny Panola, Uncle Lanny, and all the work that he's done in the community, and touched a lot of people here in the Bay Area, and the Point Reyes Roundhouse held it down for a really long time. Kuliloklo Roundhouse there, doing ceremonies, teaching young people about traditions, and he used to sing a song called Ice Cream Sodas and Lollipop.
Yeah. I know Lanny did a ceremony for my brother-in-law too when he was killed in Oakland. I think that's before you guys got together, but it wasn't 92.
90s, no, yeah. We met. I met him in 96,
and that was really, very important for me, to have that.
We did a lot of local right here in the Bay Area. He from San Jose. I was born and raised in San Jose, and I introduced him to the San Jose Alliance, so he got to meet a lot of the natives, from San Jose area. We did Vallejo's, Oakland. We were there for the their 45th anniversary at the Oakland Friendship House. I was born in 1955, so they opened their doors in 55. So, I'll just let you do the math. We did a lot of funerals and a lot of weddings. And Lanny was just a beautiful spirit. He was a beautiful man. I never had anyone love me like Lanny did. And he taught me so much. He wasn't just my partner. He taught me a lot. And today, Anne Marie Sayers, that was our first date. We went up to Indian Canyon. And in fact, Anne Marie Sayers, she was talking to Lanny, and Lanny wasn't kind of paying attention to her. And she just looked at him, and she looked at me, and she says, "Oh my gosh, Lanny's in love." And Anne Marie kept saying, "Susie, how does it feel?" But it's been a beautiful world, a lot of beautiful stories.
It's such a blessing that we were able to have him for as long as we did.
I know.
And at least we had the time that we had. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining us here on the air on Radio Free Alcatraz. Our time together is coming close to, saying goodbye. So it's always a wonderful time to have Susie with us and to thank you very much for bringing that California voice.
Not only that, but for making that long drive. I mean, that's a big commitment of time to come here every year and do that ceremony and do the ceremony and drive 10 hours round trip, not to mention the weather.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really important that we have the Indigenous California presence here, and I really want to thank you for coming every year to participate in the ceremony.
Thank you for having it's just an honor. To me, it's an honor. Like, I have a partner, and he gave up his seat for my son and my nephew, and he said he said, "You guys go." And I go, "I have to go. They're waiting for me," I said, and they were, but, it was a blessing because, on this day, Indigenous Day, on Thanksgiving, we have a lot of other groups, and it's good to be family here, and I thank God for that Facebook, because on Tule River, that's the only way I keep in contact with everybody and know what's going on,
I heard that.
Because we get free internet on the res. Yeah, so that helps out. Well, thank you for having me. I love you guys.
Thank you, Susie.
Yeah, have a great
Susie
day.
Moore,
God
Susie
bless
Moore,
you.
everyone.
Okay.
And once again, there's a bunch of events happening right after this. There's a sacred run that they've been doing for quite a long time, and that's jumping off here right after we land back on mainland. They're going to run from the pier to Golden Gate Park. So for anyone's interested in getting involved in that, you can make your way down here to Pier 33. Also, there's a panel that's happening here at Pier 33, and that panel is including some really.
You said it was a press conference.
A press conference, some sort of panel press conference with I believe Clyde Bellecourt and Yvonne Swan and Jolene Peak and several other.
Yeah, we have people here from all over. Clyde came from Minnesota, and Yvonne came from Washington. Jolene Peak came from Robinson, right? Is she from Robinson Rancheria?
Yeah, Robinson Rancheria.
And Susie came from Tule River. And Anne Marie Sayers is here. Maybe we can get a quick word from Anne Marie Sayers before we close the program.
We got Andrea Carmen came all the way from Alaska.
From Alaska, but she does that all the time. We have Anne Marie opened the program this morning, and now she's here to close with us. We only got a couple minutes left before we close, so I just want Anne Marie to.
Good morning, Anne Marie. How are you? How are you today?
Send us home. Not literally, but.
What an incredibly beautiful, beautiful day. And I saw the sun come up, and it was absolutely breathtaking. And Venus was so bright this morning. I could not believe it. And I would like to just wish everyone a safe journey home.
Well, thank you, Anne Marie. I mean, it's really an honor to have you here with us, participating in the ceremonies, every year now. You've been here for a few years, right, coming to welcome everyone. And I think that people, a lot of people don't realize, the Ohlone presence is still here. It's still strong, and what's happening with Indian Canyon. So whenever we have an opportunity to bring you out to let people know what's going on, I think that's very good. You have a pole raising ceremony that was rescheduled. Is there any date on that of when that's going to happen?
Well, it has the appearance that the healing pole will be the 5.5-foot hole in the pole that is 7 inches, and it's a 3.5 ton healing pole. I had a custom-made drill built specifically for it after 2 did not succeed, and I'll find out Monday. And look at Indian Canyon Facebook, and we will tell you when we will have the unveiling for real this time.
Yeah, Susie was just saying thank goodness for Facebook, because it really gets the word out. She said thanks for Facebook.
That's Canyon's department. She does really a good job.
And I want to particularly thank you, Anne Marie, for opening the ceremony today. You know, it's really a great blessing that you can come out and welcome all of us to your territory.
No hat.
What I will say is that honoring my ancestors and honoring the ancestors on whose land I am on, for me, is a reason for living. And so I feel very honored to do it.
I also want to, at this point, thank the technical team from the KPFA apprenticeship program. Frank Sterling, El Tino, Felix, Jen Tien, Falcone, yeah. Ever Bolden, and Joy Moore. Thank you all. And Cindy Tucson. Cindy Tucson. Thank you all from the apprenticeship program. That's, always a wonderful opportunity for young people to learn about radio and how to participate in what's going on.
Yeah, thank you to Frank Sterling on the boards behind us. Give thanks for that,
They always come out here with the radio, and it's truly amazing to see the kinds of sacrifices that people make to get out here really early in the morning, on a day where a lot of people are spending time with their families.
This is the only day I see Indians up this early, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say the old Indians, every day, you get up before sunrise and offer your prayers and tobacco, and I don't know how many people do that anymore, but this is a very special day, an opportunity to do that and be grateful for what we have. And
well, I can say this, all my youth are here. We have about 16 youth that we brought, and that's pretty good. They were pretty excited to come. We didn't have to force them to come. They wanted to come. They wanted to come be here and see the ceremony here and participate and sing or pray and so they're here, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Is this the first time they've come with you, or?
No, we've been bringing them for a few years now, but I think we didn't really have to convince them. It was just like, hey, you want to come? You want to come to Alcatraz? Yeah, let's go to Alcatraz. They wanted to stay the night actually, but we ended up getting on it too late, and so we couldn't do it. But it's a pleasure for me to be here with them.
Yeah, they've been having kids stay overnight for a few years now, which is very cool. Let's see what's going on in the circle.
Three Fire Society, gathering to the Sacred Pipe Sundance, the American Indian Movement. My spirit name is Thunder Before the Storm. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say these closing remarks to each and every one of you. And what I witnessed today and what you have witnessed today, we have so much to be thankful for. But for the immigrants, those who
Okay, we're about to sign off here. We want to thank you for joining us today and listening to the program, and remind those that didn't get an opportunity to listen to it, that didn't get up before sunrise, that it is going to be archived. And we want to thank Miguel Molina for producing the program, and we want to thank the people that were hosting today, including Mary Jean Robertson with KPEOO, and Ross Cadee and Janine Antoine with Bay Native Circle.
Yeah, Tony
Gonzalez with AIM West. And any closing remarks?
Just remember that next year at Indigenous Peoples Day, we will once again be on the island with Radio Free Alcatraz, as usual. And then again, this is an annual event, so I want to welcome all of you to the island next year as well.
And I'd just like to say, you know, for all those people that are just waking up, listening to the Thanksgiving broadcast over here, I want to give thanks for all life and all beings. And I just want to encourage those people out there to get involved in the community out here. The indigenous community needs help with different events. You know,